new trailer for Battlefield 5 has just come out in preparation of the new Chapter 5 free expansion, which will take place in the Pacific. As there are no real breakdowns of everything in the trailer so far, which was at the time of writing the script, I thought I'd go ahead and make notes of what we see, as well as what is already featured within the site's description of the theater. So how I'm going to do this is I'll first go over the trailer, and at the end, I will read off what the site describes the maps, weapons, vehicles, and other gadgets and miscellaneous. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. Right at the beginning of this trailer, we see an American soldier on a ship, most likely an LST based off of the AA gun mounts we see later in the trailer. The LST was mainly meant as a tank landing ship for the US, but in the trailer this one is carrying infantry. In full, the LST is named the Landing Ship Tank, and it was used within the Pacific. In the next shot, on the soldier's helmet, we see a map of the Pacific that has been stuffed within a strap that goes around his helmet. The helmet also has a camouflage pattern, but I myself do not recognize it as a camouflage that was commonly found in the Pacific, which I will show now, but it may be a camo pattern that was used that I do not know of. In the next shot, containing the Japanese, we see a soldier holding a Type 99 Arisaka bolt-action rifle with a folded monopod while wearing a Type 92 helmet. In the background, there is a Japanese medium tank rolling forward. Said medium tank is a Type 97 Chi-Ha, which wielded a 57mm cannon originally. However, there was a variant that upgraded the underpowered cannon to a 75mm. This variant is known as the Chi-Nu medium tank. Also in the background, there are two Japanese Mitsubishi A6M0s taking off from an airstrip. Hopefully, this means that maybe one of the maps has a proper airstrip takeoff for planes somewhere? It's possible. Later in this same shot, we can see a very decked out Japanese soldier wielding a katana. This is one of the new elites that will release with Chapter 5. The next shot features an LCVP Higgins boat being dropped by wires into the water, with the perspective being from within a different one. The landing craft vehicle personnel was first created by Andrew Higgins and saw use in both Europe and the Pacific. Its most notable role was when it was utilized in the amphibious invasions of Normandy in 1944, but it was also used throughout the Pacific. Another amphibious vehicle that was utilized within the Pacific theater was the Landing Vehicle Tracked, or LVT. There were multiple variants of them, including multiple different specializations of tanks. It doesn't seem we will get to see those in Chapter 5 so far, but maybe we'll see it some other time. The island in the background appears to have multiple mountains on it, which is most likely part of the new map Pacific Storm. Taking off from the aircraft carrier next to the LCVPs is a Vought F-4U Corsair, one of the stereotypically famous US aircraft used within the Pacific. The Corsair was used in both a fighter and fighter bomber role and was armed with 6 50 caliber or 12.7mm machine guns. During the next shot, we witness a 4-man Japanese unit on a wooden speedboat gun down multiple US Marines. While jokingly seeing if I could specifically find what boat this was, I discovered something known as a shinyo, which is, and this is not a joke, a Japanese World War II era suicide boat. That's not what this is, but it was something I discovered while researching. When the men aboard the boat start to engage, the man closest to the driver shoulders a Type 97 machine gun. This is not to be confused with the tank, Chi-Ha, the plane, Nakajima Ki-27 or Type 97 fighter, the mortar, the Type 97 81mm mortar, the other mortar, the Type 97 150mm mortar, the grenade, Type 97 standard grenade, the anti-tank rifle, Type 97 20mm AT rifle, the sniper rifle, based on the Type 38 rifle, the motorcycle, the tankette, Type 27 T-Key, the other mortar, Type 97 90mm mortar, the prototype tank, Type 97 Chi-Ni, the seaplane, Type 97 Kawanishi H6K, the torpedo, or the Shinhoto Chi-Ha. That's 14 different types of Type 97s. Quite original. Since he is holding a machine gun, we can assume that this soldier is the support class, and the support player is wearing a Japanese field cap with neck flap. The other two have Type 92 helmets, however one does have a linen cover on it. If you go through the video slowly, you can see multiple different shirts being worn by the Americans, which hopefully means a good amount of new uniforms being added. Also, you can see an M3 grease gun being wielded by one of the soldiers that gets cut down. Meant as a replacement to the M1 Thompson, the M3 was cheaper than the Thompson, but was actually less accurate than it. After skipping one of the scenes, we have new things to point out. The first thing we see is a ghillie helmet being worn by one of the soldiers within cover. After that, we see the soldier with the ghillie helmet grab what many would likely assume, and I would not blame them, to be a very long toilet plunger, but is actually a lunge mine, an anti-tank grenade on a stick, which was meant to be used by ramming it onto the enemy tank, causing damage to the tank and causing the user to be killed in the process. The tank we see become the victim of the lunge mine attack is an M4 Sherman. However, it is not an ordinary one. This variant is actually the T-34, no, not the Russian one, Calliope. Getting its name from the instrument, or the Greek myth, the Calliope was initially armed to the teeth with 60 114mm rockets, and there were also other variants, the latest changing the rockets to 183mm rockets. We also see some physical changes to the tank, which would be the logs strapped to the sides. Could this possibly mean tank customization is alive and well? We'll have to find out. When the tank is kaboomed, the soldier wielding the lunge mine is still alive, probably for gameplay purposes, and possibly make sure people actually use it. Maybe the user still gets damaged? We don't know for sure yet. In the shot directly following the lunge mine scene, we see two new flammable weapons of war. The first being the M4A3R3, nicknamed the Zippo after the lighter company. Essentially, the Zippo was an M4 Sherman with a flamethrower added into the turret. The next flame weapon is the M2 Flamethrower, which is a man-portable backpack flamethrower. The flamethrower lasted for about 7 seconds until it was empty, but could fire as far away as 132 feet away from a target, 40 meters for my metric friends out there. However, it was soon abandoned in favor of flame tanks like the M4A3R3, as they were more protected than lone infantry standing in enemy fire. The next thing I will mention is the shot where we go into the tunnels of Japanese fortifications. Tunnels were built in as many places as possible by the Japanese, connecting fortifications along large distances. These tunnels were built into mountains that watch over the island, it seems, as Japanese coastal guns are firing in the background. Interestingly, at the time of writing this, no one has talked yet about the fact that these coastal guns can actually be crewed and fired. This specific coastal gun is actually a dual-purpose Japanese Type 10 120mm AA gun. It entered service in 1921, which was year 10 of Emperor Taisho's reign, giving the designation Type 10. When the landing craft is destroyed, it appears that the background is bleak, and the ground of the shores appears to be black. That is what the shores of the island of Iwo Jima, or Sulphur Island, actually look like. It is black sand, which made getting off the beaches of the island incredibly difficult for the Marines because of the steep hills. As these Corsairs fly over the island, we get a better look at the shores, and it can be confirmed that it is black sand on the beaches. The rocket that is rammed into by the plane is the Japanese Ki-147 I-GO rocket, which was a radio-guided surface-to-air rocket and had 800 kilograms of explosives within. Afterwards, multiple Marines are ambushed by a Japanese soldier who literally cuts them down with a katana. Katanas were mainly wielded by Japanese officers who used them in both actual combat and in the suicidal act of seppuku, where the officer would first stab themselves in the stomach, and with the help of another, have their own head sliced off to have an honorable death. Grisly stuff. In this shot, we see a support soldier using an M1919A6 with a bipod extended, which is evident because of the stock in the rear and the carry handle. The A6 was meant to improve upon the previous M1919 machine guns as a way to compete with the Maschinengewehr 42 by making it more portable than it was beforehand. In the chaotic beach fighting that ensues, we can spot something that I mentioned earlier, which is the LVT tank. This specific LVT is the LVT-A1, which was armed with a whopping 37mm cannon. Unlike the LVTA-1, however, this tank does not appear to have rear Browning machine guns. Interestingly, we also see the lunge mine attempted to be used as a melee weapon, which is odd. As the camera pulls away, we see the full intensity of the battle for Iwo Jima. Looks very cool indeed. In these final moments of the trailer, we watch as the ASM-N2 BAT radar-guided glide bomb drops through the clouds into view of an island that will be incredibly familiar to Battlefield veterans. This island is the classic Wake Island. This map was featured in 1942, Battlefield 2, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 1943 for the Xbox and PlayStation exclusively, and now will be featured in Battlefield 5. That was all for the trailer itself, but now we have stuff from the site. The weapons that will be released upon Chapter 5 arriving are the Garand for the Assault, time to hear that famous ping, Type 100 for Medic, M1919A6 for Support, and the Type 99 Aisaka for Recon. Later on, the new weapons will include the Type 97 LMG, Nambu Type 2 submachine gun, the Grease gun, and the M1918A2, known best as the BAR, or BAR. In terms of sidearms, we will also get the Type 94 pistol and the Model 27 revolver. The Type 94 pistol is notorious for also being able to be fired without actually pulling the trigger, which I wonder if we'll be able to see that in some form or another in the DLC. The lunge mine will also release with the Tides of War. The Katana and M2 will be put in the game as battle pickups, which we saw and remember as elite kits in Battlefield 1. In terms of the tanks, and more specifically the Type 97 Chi-Ha, the Battlefield website states that the Japanese equivalent of the Sherman is the Type 97, a tank with similar characteristics. Man its 57mm main tank gun, or higher caliber cannons if you've unlocked the specializations. Also coming with the expansion in terms of tanks are the LVTA-1 and the Ka-Mi amphibious tanks. The wooden boat we saw speed through the water is purely described as a dinghy, which is also said to be fast but vulnerable. In terms of transport land vehicles, we'll get the Willys MP Jeep and the Type 95 Kurogane. The Corsair and the Zero will come in both fighter and bomber variants, so these are the only planes we'll get that we know of so far. The Calliope and the Japanese equivalent are going to be featured in the game as squad reinforcements for their respective teams, and the Americans will keep the well-known JB-2 as their V1 equivalent. The new elites that will be released are Jack Culver for the Americans and Kaisuke Nakamura for the Japanese. Both of them look quite cool for the Pacific, so seeing them will make the battle even more unique. Available as a chapter reward is the Jungle Carbine, a British SMLE, or short magazine in the Enfield, that was modified for use in the jungles of the Pacific. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys today, so if you enjoyed, please leave a like down below, and don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell. If you didn't enjoy, I guess you can leave a dislike, but I sincerely hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.